Lithuania, my country, my love, you are like health. Only when I lose you do I know how much you mean to me. These words might have been written about any country in the world. About Ireland. Ireland, my country, my love. Every nation exists because it is loved. But there's a catch in these words about Lithuania, because they are the opening words of a poem about Poland. This is the most loved poem in the Polish language. But those opening words about Lithuania can sound strange at times even to Polish ears. Litwo, ojczyzno moja, ty jest jak zdrowie. The truth is that every nation stumbles into history half-formed and already bound up with the stories of its neighbours. This doesn't change. In Ireland we know it only too well. In the first piece of writing to come out of this country, the man who wrote it spoke about this place as the land of my captivity, this remote land. He spoke about himself, a flawed character, completely uncultured, a refugee. And then he gave us a bit of his mind. You listen to me, all of you, rich landowners with your scholarship and your smooth talk. Listen and listen well. God chose foolish little me. He picked ignorant Patrick ahead of all of you. These words of protest mark the first steps of our nation in history. Patrick, protesting against those who despised him and who despised the people he had come to love. And after many centuries, the message is familiar. We are the Irish. We live in this remote land, and we will not be overlooked. In this referendum, we face a moment of decision about our future with our European neighbours. And at the same time, among ourselves, there is disillusionment, grievance, mistrust, anger, and shame. Our basic institutions, financial, political, religious, have no story of encouragement to offer at this time. And yet we, the people of this country, we have a choice. We can look to our neighbours and learn from them about how they faced their moments of humiliation. I have one particular neighbour in mind. In 1933 in Germany, a political party came to power which began to persecute all its opponents. We all know about this. Among them was a 57-year-old man who had been mayor of the city of Cologne for 18 years. He would spend the next 12 years either in prison or living in isolation. Later he would write about those days. Often he wrote, I was ashamed of being German, ashamed to the depths of my soul. He would describe the time after the collapse of Germany as the catastrophe. Hunger, cold, need, and death. Without hope for the future, despised by all the peoples of the earth. Konrad Adenauer, at the age of 73, became the first Chancellor of the German Federal Republic. And 4 years later he paid a visit to the United States. He described his feelings on that journey as ones of deep gratitude. And when he arrived in New York, he spoke of how rare it was for the victor to help the defeated. The German people, he said, have derived courage from all this. We have regained confidence, and above all, we have learnt that in the life of nations too, force and egotism are not the only motivating powers. Germany recovered from her humiliation by taking a generous view of the world and by learning to see the good in others. Whatever hardship we face in Ireland today, and whatever shame, if we look towards our neighbours and if we find it in ourselves to speak good of them, we will benefit from that. There is a reward which comes from celebrating humanity at its best. If we vote no in this referendum, we will be sending out a clear message to our neighbours in Europe. We cannot trust you, We cannot trust your governments, and we want you to leave us alone. In that case, we must ask ourselves, who can we trust? There will always be good reasons for fear. The future is always uncertain, always a challenge. But we can meet it with hope and generosity. We need this attitude, especially now when we are facing into years of hardship. If we vote yes to Lisbon, we will be sending out a message of confidence in ourselves, of trust in our neighbours, and of hope in the future. Yes, we, the Irish, will play our part in the future of Europe.